Hi ENC3249 class, my name is Danny Colina, and for our team's analytical writing report, we decided to talk about the rise of Sears and its eventual demise. Now my team consists of our team leader Richard Rodriguez, our co-leader Wilmer Cortez, our proofreader Jacob Roman, and me as our editor. Growing up, Sears was a company I remember very fondly. I remember the trips my parents would take during the weekends very early in the morning to go shop at Sears. From their thick catalogs, shirts with very bad MP3 players, their really cheap toys, and a large array of appliances, you really couldn't go wrong with shopping at Sears. Unfortunately, throughout the decades, many Sears stores began to drop in quality and began to just not exist anymore, leaving Sears only but a memory. Throughout this presentation, we will cover the rise and fall of Sears and what could have been done by the holders of their action currently to make them rise again. We will help find new management strategies for Transform SR Brands LLC. After our extensive research, numerous articles, insider knowledge, and knowledge of other retailers, we found a number of ways of what could have been done to save Sears. But let's start at the beginning. Sears, also known as Sears, Roebuck and Company, was founded in 1892 in Chicago's Illinois by a couple of wealthy businessmen, entrepreneurs named Richard Warren Sears and Alva Curtis Roebuck. It did not start off as a department store but as a mail-order catalog company. By 1925, they had created a large chain of department stores, which they named Sears, that sold the same goods found on their catalogs, which people could physically shop at. To the left side, we see one of Sears' first catalogs, and on the right, we see one of the first Sears stores opening in Chicago. Sears was one of the biggest retailers in the world for its time. It sold a large variety of items, including automobile parts, clothing parts, appliances, clothes, etc. It was an oasis for thirsty customers. Sears literally had everything you could ever ask for. The main thing they sold was their clothes. Their clothes was top notch back in the day and one of my favorite aspects of Sears. While this did help them build a brand, they could not keep up the quality later down the line. After World War II, Sears flourished and became the largest retailer in the United States, only to be dethroned by Kmart in the 1980s. Fortunately for both of them, they got into tough waters and decided in 2004 to merge into Sears Holding. Sadly, after the merger, Kmart and Sears, due to bad management decisions, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on October 15th, 2018. My teammate Richard Rodriguez will go more in depth in why Sears filed for bankruptcy.
Thank you, Danny. Before I start, I just want to say that thinking about Sears and doing research on it was very nostalgic for me, because I remember going into this store with my family, and although they got many expenses and you would not find some items that you were looking for or updated versions of them, it is true that it was a fun experience, and the customer representatives, they were really nice, and going into it and being part of our culture growing up. So it was sad when they started just closing down stores. It was sad for many of us. So the fall of Sears. There are three reasons why Sears went bankrupt. One, there was a lack of investment in advertising in stores. This means that they were not using resources for advertising as they should, which led to a lack of branding, and their stores were not being upgraded. Another one would be the lack of branding that came from an infrastructure problem that they had many departments within Sears, and they were all pulling resources from the same route, and they were not working cohesively, and that led to many issues with branding and competition with other companies. And the third reason would be not diving into e-commerce to compete with big companies such as Amazon and Walmart that really dived into it, and they saw exponential growth in their sales. So solutions to save Sears would be cut expenses on unnecessary resources. Right now we're talking about how these many departments that Sears had were putting a lot of resources that they could have been used for advertising, and that way they didn't have to cut down on it and increase their image in the market and thus their branding. They will need to research on other companies and what is it that they're doing better that they're not doing, and compete with them and not internally, and just don't have that many departments, or just foster a culture that would embrace a cohesive work throughout. In this picture we also see one of the last surviving Sears outlets in Miami, Florida. And this is very nostalgic. I live in Brownsville, Texas, and I used to live in Miami before, but where I live right now, the Sears that we had in the mall is being turned into a True Fit, which is a gym. So that's very sad for all of us that grew up knowing how every mall had a Sears, and they were big, they were really big. Thank you, Wilmer. So, continuing the background, the lack of innovations. So they had this system called Prodigy that they installed in the 80s. It was, at the moment, it allowed them to compete with other big names such as Walmart. But as time passes, Amazon took over with e-commerce, and Sears did not dive into it. So the market trends say that brick and mortar retail stores, they need to embrace this digital mindset, and Sears was one of these stores that they didn't. We see Target and Macy's that they had to, even though they closed many stores, they had to embrace this mindset, and thanks to the branding that they had, they were able to succeed. You would know what you can find in Macy's and Target, but at the moment you didn't know what you were gonna find in Sears, especially knowing that many of their products were not that good to compete with other big names such as Walmart. And their online platform was not customer oriented or user friendly. That took a toll on their sales. Thank you, Jacob. Digital innovation will be the last recommendation that we will be giving to transform SR brands. They own Sears at the moment, so we know how investing in the online platform in AI has proven to be successful to these big companies such as Amazon and Walmart. Nowadays, with the help of AI, we can try on shoes when we're doing online shopping. We can see how the furniture is gonna look in our bedrooms. We can do so many things, and we know as well, and we experience it every single day when we're transacting online, that having a really fast system that would allow you to transact faster and to pay without any issues, that really makes a difference and makes you want to keep on buying from this specific company. And that would be the last recommendation that we give him, that to invest in future technologies such as AI that would allow e-commerce and an online platform that really makes a difference.
Thank you, Richard. A device strategy. Lampert, the CEO, had a device strategy to cut on many expenses regarding advertising, store renovations, massive store closures, and reducing inventory. As my group mentioned in the previous slides, the main reason for its decline were that they took the money that they needed to push advertisement and stores, instead of implementing it towards themselves. Maybe they would probably still be in the run against these top dog franchises. As you see, Sears was one of the big franchises in the 1900s, late 2000s. But as you see in 2010, to 2018, they started losing a lot of money, which led to them most likely, well, not most likely, foreclosing mostly all their stores. Also, customer decline was the final product of the implementation of the cut in expenses. They even stopped shipping due to this. That was a main thing that probably led people not wanting to go to Sears anymore, because as they see, it looked like already like no renovations, no advertisement. People wouldn't want to go because they probably already thought that Sears already went on foreclosure. So why would they want to go to a place that looks abandoned and no one inside? They want to go to a place where a lot of people is shopping, and just mainly where they can find the great deals and where they could spend and feel safe and not terrified of where they're going to be. Another thing is, it's a troubled business. Sears had 30 departments handling different aspects of the business. Each department was pulling several different resources. As you see, Sears Holding, it was Sears itself, Kmart, Craftsman, Kentmore, Die Hard, and other brands as well. This put a strain on the finance of the company. Having a decentralized infrastructure made it seem like many different companies inside Sears Holding competing against each other. E-commerce. E-commerce has become one of the primary ways people transact nowadays. Retail stores are competing with online market giants like Amazon, Walmart, Shopify, and others. They need to embrace the current trend or succumb it. As you can see, the market value from December 30, 2016, Amazon 355.9 billion, Walmart 297.8 billion, and Sears is right over there in the tiny corner, because they just, I guess they gave up in wanting to compete against these big giants, and they didn't want to put the effort in the run to stay with their hard working branding and not want. They just pretty much gave up on wanting to be at the top. As you can see, Target and Macy's created ways to highlight their uniqueness, and they have invested it into the online presence. Recommendation: upgrading department stores. First recommendation is upgrading the department stores advertising and a new line of innovation and product when they go to any physical location or transform SR Branding LLC. They would know what to expect. Here's how shopper rank the most important aspect of retail experience. 1, a clean store. 2, a positive checkout experience. 3, a friendly and knowledgeable associates. 4, opportunity of giving feedback. And now to Jacob.
Thank you, Wilmer. Sears used to be a fun place to shop at when I was younger. I remember back when they had Sears catalogs that were 1.5 inches thick that was mailed to our house. During birthdays and Christmases, I used to circle all the toys and video games I always wanted, just so my parents could buy them for me. But in 1993, when I was only 12 years old, Sears made the fatal mistake of doing away with their famous Sears catalog as an effort to save money. This hurt their branding, as Sears was famous for their catalogs as a wish list, and hurt their sales. However, in 2007, they attempted to slowly bring it back. To put this into perspective, imagine if Amazon did away with their website and servers as an effort to save money. Customers would need to drive to a physical Amazon distribution center in order to shop at Amazon. This would obviously hurt their branding, much like Sears. The Sears catalog was designed to motivate the buyer to buy their products. The amount of items found in the catalog were overwhelming and incredible. It was very exciting reading material, which is why it attracted so many customers. Years later, when Sears was on the path towards Chapter 11 bankruptcy, many companies decided to have their products removed from Sears shelves and stop doing business altogether with Sears. The companies didn't want Sears' name tied with them. Therefore, they not only hurt their customer loyalty and business loyalty, but their own brand due to poor decision making. One example of poor decision making, other than doing away with their catalogs, was a failure to innovate and invest into future technologies such as e-commerce. E-commerce allows customers to shop at any time of the day, anywhere in the world, whereas a physical store is only available to the local population region the store is located at. In order to get more customers with a physical store, you would need to build more stores at different locations. With e-commerce, however, you do not need a physical store. The only thing you will need is a well-built website for customers to shop at. The main advantages of this is that it's cost-effective, is secure, requires very little management, and saves the company money on salaries, which requires less employees, and you attract new customer bases. Although there are only about a handful of stores left, there's still hope to bring back Sears. One method is to find a number of investors who are passionate and willing to grow the company. The investor doesn't necessarily have to be an individual. They could be a major investment company such as BlackRock or Vanguard. The next step would be to purchase a number of real estate to build new Sears locations, and with the money invested, or they can lease out already established locations. Sears has been widely known to only be located in mall locations, but they can go beyond that and actually be standalone stores in shopping plazas or busy cities. However, there would be no point of doing so if people still believe that Sears is dead. That is when marketing will play a factor. Money invested in marketing and advertising, as Sears is back, will need to be in all forms of media. Media such as the internet, ad videos and social media videos, television, radio, magazines, newspapers, you name it. There would seriously need to be a massive marketing campaign. Doing all this would still not be enough though. 80% of their business model will need to concentrate on the one thing that killed them to begin with, the failure to invest in e-commerce. The best approach would be to do everything that Amazon is doing. Have a massive user centers that will do a lot more selection of products and focus heavily on their website. This will allow Sears to compete with big names such as Amazon and Walmart. They can innovate and find different ways their products can be shipped to customers, such as with drones. Cryptocurrency can be a method to purchase their products as well. I mean, the amount of options to send Sears heading in the proper direction would be amazing. In conclusion, if our advice is implemented, they can easily come back to the #1 retailer spot again within 5 years. Sears has been the king retailer for over a century. It has survived the crash of '29, it has survived World War I and World War II, and grew exponentially throughout the '60s during the baby boom era. But it refused to grow decades later, and as a result, they lost over 3,000 stores, thus leaving its demise only as a memory. Thank you.